easy go. You're an unfading star, a gentle love, the kind that lifts you up, no matter how.
Good evening. Welcome to another vlog. If I don't fall down this cliff. I'm in Wales, and look, this is South Stack Lighthouse. So we've come here for sunset. The idea of this trip, got a thumbs up, meet tomorrow, which is the Saturday. If you're not a member of Thumbs Up on Facebook, go and check us out. I'll put the link here and down below, and also the website, go and check us out there. But I'm here with Steve and Gary and Martin and Colin, so most of the gang is here, and this is like a pre-meet sunset. Had a little bit of a problem with the camper today. The starter motor seems to completely broken. I think the leads come off, so I'll have to park on a slope to get it started, but that's not a problem. I'm going to camp here overnight, and then in the morning we're going to photograph this again. Struggling a little bit with composition. What I'm thinking about is this curvy path here down to the lighthouse. That's what I want to get. Sunset is another half an hour away, so I'm thinking when the sun goes down we might be better, but it's been so hot today. No clouds at all in the sky, completely blue, completely clear, so not the best conditions. But I've spent a load of time with Steve having a look at the Ogwen Valley, which is somewhere I've not photographed unbelievably because it looks fantastic. So really looking forward to coming back here again on another visit. I'm going to shoot this. I'm going to talk you through my ideas and my thoughts about this. And then what I'm going to do, something I want to do a little bit more often on my vlogs, is to take you into Lightroom and show you the processing, because a lot of people ask me about the processing side of things, and it is pretty much half a photographer's job nowadays if you're shooting raw. So I've already done some basic editing videos. If you haven't seen them, I'll link them at the back of the video for you to check out. But this one is going to be about masking, I guess, and just really showing you how I go about processing this image. So without further ado, let's get the tripod out, get the camera out, and let's shoot this. Oh, by the way, fantastic. I've just seen, I didn't realise there are puffins on the mountain over there, and a very kind lady has just lent me her binoculars. The very first time I've ever seen a puffin. Absolutely amazing. Razor bills as well, look brilliant on the cliff. It's a no drone zone, which I sometimes go, really? But actually, because of the birds and the nested birds, I wouldn't use a drone here, certainly over this side of the cliff. So lovely to see a puffin for the very first time. Something I want to do again. Right, let's get the camera out, let's get the tripod out, and let's shoot a picture.
I guess you could call it chance, but we know it's more than that. It's like we've always known, that set in stone, unbreakable.
So as you can see, it's a little bit precarious. At least this side, if I fall, I've only got the path to fall on, but there is the other side, a sheer drop, so be very careful. But I've come back here because I want to get these yellow flowers in the foreground. I put the 14 to 30 mil on now to get the sweep of the path up to the lighthouse. Just need the sun to go down another half an hour or so, get the light looking right. But I thought I'd get in position, get the composition looking okay. Only thing I don't like about this, some electricity pylons going down to the lighthouse, which are necessary, I guess. Might take them out, but probably won't. We'll probably leave them. If I had my way, I'd maybe move this way, because it might mean that I can get rid of the pylon into the island a little bit. It won't be so distracting, but we'll see how we go. I'm going to shoot this, have a look at it, and then maybe have a little scout around, see what else I can find. Beautiful evening. The birds are making so much noise. Absolutely amazing.
It's like I've always dreamed, true harmony, unmistakable, unmistakable.
Right, come down the steps a bit. Try and get a composition. Finding it difficult. I'm sure there is one. I just can't find it, but there is one behind me. Don't know whether you can see the put it right behind the camera. There's a little square, looks like a castle, it's not a castle. But there's a nice shape in the cliff here. We've got some jagged rocks on the left. We've got a curve of the rocks going up to it. And then we've got the island in the background. This is in the sea fret, bit of mist, looks very nice. So I'll show you it now and I'm going to shoot that. I like this actually. The noise here is incredible with the guillemots, the razorbills, puffins, whatever we have. Whatever they are very, very noisy. And it's lovely to hear it, really great, fantastic. And actually the sunset is about to happen, I think. So we're going to get the camera in place and shoot the lighthouse. I think I need to do that while I'm here. And then we've got this in the bag already, so one of these we're going to process. Right, let's do that now.
Through each night we'll keep burning bright. I'm so lucky to be.
Excuse me if I'm a bit out of breath, but I think I've found the composition. You've got this kind of double curve here. Not quite sure we're going to get to see the other curve down there, but certainly this one, I've got a line here and then it goes round, and then we've got the bridge, and then we've got the lighthouse, which you can't see but in the distance over there. I think this is going to work. I think it's probably the best that I'm going to get. Sun is dipping now, so probably going to shoot this with the wide angle. I've got a 24mm on at the moment, but I might go even wider to try and get more of this curve in. So let's be quick and get this sorted, and then we'll go into Lightroom and I'll show you how to go about processing this. Ideally in a sunset, or ideally in a seascape, you want a really good sky. We haven't got one. What can you do? You have to deal with what you got. Right, let's shoot the picture. Quite hard to get everything in. I want to show you here. Sun's gone now. It's just dipped behind the horizon. We have still got the lighthouse, which is flashing. The other thing I'm going to show you in Lightroom with this is because of this wide angle lens, the lighthouse is actually bent over a little bit to the left, and we know it's straight. So what I'm going to do, even though the horizon's level, the lighthouse still isn't. So what we're going to do in Lightroom, I'll just show you how to auto correct this or correct the verticals in it. Unfortunately, what ultra wide angle lenses, we do get this kind of bend at the edges. So a good tip is to not to get your straight lines on the edge of the frame. Try and put it straight, but in this case I'm going to have to, because the composition to me doesn't work without it. So it's just going to involve a little bit of straightening it up, which will mean I'll lose a little bit off the edges of the composition. So to compensate for that, just going to go as wide as I can to give myself a little bit of space. There we go. Other thing I can do with this is wait for the light to come round, which is now. Normally these things flash 3 times, this one hasn't. So what I'm going to do is to get this in is to count the seconds, and then I'll help it out with a bit of luminar starburst, which is cheating, but it kind of works. So let's just watch it, count the seconds between it flashing, and then I've got a 3-second delay on here, which I'm going to have to bear in mind. So let's have a look. Here we go. 1001, 1002, 3, 4, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009. So it needs to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3-second delay, 2, bash, not quite. Okay, 1, 3, 4, 5. That's about right, I reckon. Yes, perfect. And that worked perfectly. Just about counting. You can use a watch, but I'm pretty confident my timing's not too bad. So that'll be enough. The light's shining anyway. It's not shining enough to really create a starburst, but with a little bit of help from software, it'll look all right, I think. Great stuff. Right, here we go then. Back into Lightroom, and let's have a look at the process in this. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom, and this is the finished file. Now you can see that needs a little bit of work actually. Let me just get rid of my presets so a little bit more space. I'm going to leave the grey background. In fact, I'm going to turn it to a dark grey. How about that? So you can see I've just selected 2 images. I'll get rid of that because we don't need to work on the other one. So there we go. 0.6 seconds. It was so bright still. Now you'll notice that I'm on F22. And the reason I shut down to F22 is to try and help the starburst, which you can't see. Oops, let's just get that up. There we go. So you can see I had the light, put the time in, that works really well. But even at F22, we've still got no starburst. I've also got the sun on the horizon, and we've got these wires actually going down as well, which I might have to do something about. The first thing that needs to happen really is we need to correct this, because that is not straight. Even though lots of buildings on the coast aren't particularly straight, I know there's one on Whitby Pier which definitely isn't, it still, I'm sure, isn't that kind of angle. So we have some choices. You can actually buy specialist software for this. Let me just show you how to do it in Lightroom. Now, Lightroom has an auto button, which I would imagine doesn't work. No, it doesn't work because that is so small in the frame. But if we do this, you see it brings some grid lines up. So this is what we need to make it straight against. And it needs to be almost that to make it straight. Which kind of is fine, but as you can see we've got this checkerboard effect. And that would mean that I have to, therefore, crop that out, or, as you've seen me do before, fill it in with Photoshop. So something probably around there would make it look straight. That would kind of work. But I'm going to change that. So we're going to get rid of all of this. And I'm going to put it into something called Nik Perspective, because that kind of works better. Let me just show you how to do that. I haven't had this free, so Nik Perspective I bought as part of the Nik 6 package, and I really like this software. It does a brilliant job. There are other bits of software that will do it, but for now, let's have a quick look. So we're just going to use Nik Perspective. You can see that that is much better at straightening up that lighthouse. The Lightroom is probably still not quite right, but that is a lot better. Yeah, that looks fine, look. And we've actually kept a lot more of the picture. Okay, so there we go. So we've got, that's the original, and this is our corrected one using Nik Perspective, which is a lot better than the Lightroom one. So now what I need to do is work on the exposure, because as you can see from the histogram here, I've made sure that I haven't burnt out the highlights, and with the sun facing straight into the picture, that's a worry. That's the thing you have to be careful of. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back up to the basics panel, which we looked at before, push the highlights, and actually what I'm going to do is raise the shadows, because there's lots of detail in the bottom of this picture where this path goes round. Something like that. We could raise the shadows just a touch. Sorry, the highlights just a touch. And that kind of works better. Let's just lighten the whole thing up. And then what we're going to do is drop the highlights back down. There we go. So this histogram looks okay. Colour temperature wise, don't think it's far off. Let's just see what auto does. Nothing. I'd like to have it back to where it was. Let's go back. So we'll go back to there, and actually I'm going to warm it up a little bit because it was a little bit warm, but you can see that's affecting the highlights. So we're going to have to adjust those as we go along. That's fine. Now, this step, or this wall, is a bit dominant in the picture, so I'm going to use the masking tool. I'm going to look at objects. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's go to a linear gradient. I think that might work better. I'm just going to drag that up from the bottom here. And I'm just going to darken down the edge of this wall, because I want the eye to look at the lighthouse and not the wall. Having said that, I still want them to see, I still want you to see that there are steps there. So if we just darken down the whole exposure, bring up the shadows, drop the highlights a little bit. Actually, let's raise the highlights just a fraction, just so the eye can be led in to this path here. So there's the linear gradient, that's the bottom of the picture. I'm now going to add, I need to select the island. Let's see what happens when we select the subject. Oh, that's perfect. That's worked really well. If I zoom in here, we'll be able to see that that has selected the edge of that lighthouse. There's a little bit there which is wrong, so I'm just going to subtract that with a brush, make it really, really, really small and tiny. We'll just take that little bit of sea out there, because that shouldn't be part of the mask. Other than that, I think it's done a brilliant job actually. Really, really selected that really well. So let's just go back out. And what I want to do with this is I want to lighten this whole thing up just a fraction. Now, where the sun is shining from over here, we know, because we are humans, that that would be shadow. So it's actually maybe best just to raise the shadows up, because I want to be able to see into it. I still want to create it as being darker than the rest. So we'll do that. We'll raise the highlights a little bit, and that kind of works for me. I don't think that's too bright. I think that kind of does the job. A little bit here is a bit dark, so we might also want to just use some sort of radial gradient on this, which we're going to intersect sort of like that, sort of like that. And I'm going to intersect that radial gradient with let's have a look at the landscape. So it can work. Let's have a look, see if it will find the sea for me. See if it does, I will intersect it with the water. There we go. Now I'm going to create a mask, invert it, and now we've just got the land showing. Okay, so what that's done is I've made a radial gradient on that, I've taken out the sea, and that's the way I've done it. So again with this, I just want to create a little bit of zing, and what's correcting that actually it shouldn't do. Where's the overlay gone? Okay, so if we're getting the sky is being affected, just going to make that slightly bigger. Get rid of that. That should still, there we go, that's what it is. There was a little bit of the mask showing in there, so what we should do now, just raise that a little bit, erase the shadows, that's too much. There we go, drop the highlights a little bit. Cool, okay, get rid of the overlay, close the mask actually, and then we can see. So actually one more thing I want to do is just with this lovely sky here, we're going to add linear gradient and drop this down here, and I'm going to intersect that with the subject. There we go. And you can't see that, but if I do that, you'll see that the lighthouse here has been deselected. Brilliant. So that's just going to affect the sky. So sunset, we'll just darken it down a fraction. I'm just going to add some saturation to this, just to make it zing a little bit. And that's cool. Colour temperature, a little bit more orange. The exposure actually, I don't really want that to be dark like that on the top. Let's just pull the highlights down. We're getting a bit of a dark band here, which I don't really like, so let's just push that out. In actual fact, that is fine. So there we go. I think that is pretty good. So you made the original picture actually had the lighthouse leaning over. We've now got to that. Let me show you the original picture, which is that one. We're now there. So completely different. And actually, I quite like that. It's not the best picture ever, but it kind of works. The last thing I want to do with this is just, as I said, add in a a little bit of a starburst into this lighthouse. So for that we're going to use Luminar Neo, edit, and it's actually under the magic light tab here. You see the brush size is at the moment greyed out, that's because there's no intensity. So the brush size I'm going to make really small here. Let's just zoom in and we'll just add the brush into there. And then you can see that we can add a little bit of a starburst to there. We've got different things that we can do. We can make it sort of zing a little bit. And I think the thing with this is to make it appear realistic, which is not easy because it kind of could be. I'd like to be able to colour it a little bit different colour, because to me that's too white, but it is what it is. Let's just turn the brightness down a little bit, see if that'll work. A bit darker as it was sunset. And I think that's subtle enough not to really be noticed, although, there we go. It does kind of work. So that's it, all finished. And there we go. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've learned something. I'll do a lot more of my videos with processing in, because I think it's kind of useful. So see you next week, Sunday at 6. If you haven't subscribed, think about doing so. Do these every Sunday. See you then. Take care. Ta-da.